Well, we caught something last night, and no, it wasn't the fox in the big trap here. In fact, I need to rebait this because we caught a feral cat the other night and it ate all of our bait. But I actually had set another trap the other day and it's got something in it. In case you're not familiar with what this little critter is, this is a juvenile opossum. They'll get a lot bigger than this. This is just a little guy. I've debated over it. I think I'm just gonna turn it loose. You know, while opossums are kind of sinister looking animals, there actually are some benefits to having them around. They eat rodents, they eat insects such as ticks. And, you know, I guess if I had to choose, I'd rather have a possum around than those things. Now, if he starts eating stuff out of our garden, that'll be another story. But for now, I haven't seen any evidence of that. So I guess we'll set him loose. And while I'm over here in the garden, I thought I'd show you this. We're starting to get some little baby giant pumpkins popping out. I know I should let the vines get longer before I allow these to grow, but the truth is I have no idea what I'm doing and I just want a pumpkin. So I'm kind of excited about this one. So for reference, it's just a little bit bigger than my thumb. There's a couple more that are popping up here, but that's definitely the biggest one. But we're getting sidetracked. Let me get Callie locked up so I can set this thing loose and not have her go after it, and then we'll start checking things off the to-do list. That's what's going on today on Farmer Tyler Ranch. Oh, that poor guy, he's all tuckered out, you know, been working overtime. I'm always climbing through this fence, and I've actually gotten pretty good at it, you know, to climb through the barbed wire without stabbing myself or my clothing. Every once in a while it happens, but you know, within the next year or so, my plan is to tear this fence down and rebuild it with a woven wire fence, something high tensile. That'll be a lot better for a perimeter fence, but it will make it harder for me to climb through it. And by harder, I mean it'll basically be impossible. So what I need to do at some point is make, you know, some built-in ladders on the fence. Even if I just had like 2 or 3 of them along this fence line, it'd sure make moving cows and irrigating a lot easier. So not today, but future project. Going down. You want down? Come on. Okay, you're good. I think she got confused and suddenly thought she wasn't allowed to get down. Everything here in the front field is finished, which is nice. Usually it takes a little bit longer. I've got one check here in the middle field that I have to run at the same time that I run that furthest block in the front field. And the reason for that is because, and you'd never be able to see this with your naked eye, but the ground ever so gradually slopes up as you go that way. So for the pump to push the water all that distance and also push it up, it needs to fill the standpipe even higher at the pump itself in order to do that. The problem is that the standpipe is not really quite tall enough, and if I just run that block by itself, it'll overflow and waste water. So what I've started doing, and I got this idea from my grandpa, this is what he used to do also, but he would run this check along with that block, and this relieves a little bit of the pressure off of the system and makes it so that the water will not overflow while you're trying to get to that furthest block. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but that's why I've got water going in two places. And as luck would have it, the far block is done, but this check probably could use like another hour or so. So I think what I'll do is I'll close those valves because there's no sense in just spilling water into the ditch, and I'll open up this second check here in the middle field, and I'll explain to you why I'm doing that. So the valve that I just opened is right next to this other one that's been running. I know sometimes things that make perfect sense to me are probably difficult to grasp on camera just because you can't, you know, see as much as I can see. But anyway, we've got these two running together now. With these two open, I can go close those and the pump will still not overflow. So there's that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that last time in the rotation, I skipped this paddock, and it was kind of my own fault. I accidentally irrigated that first check without knowing it because I forgot to close the valve. And when it was time for the cows to come in here, it was too wet. I didn't want to put them in here, so I just left this one out of the rotation. And what has happened as a result should be no surprise, and that is that this is really starting to stock up and look pretty nice. So aside from a few patches of smut grass here and there, there's actually a really nice stand of Dallas grass and clover growing out here. So as I'm watching all of this grass stockpile, it just kind of got me thinking, like, well, what if I could do a small batch of hay right here on these two checks? I don't know that I would get that many bales, probably not, but I think it would be pretty decent quality, and it should have decent protein because of all that clover. I've got the baler, I've got the rake. The last piece of equipment that I need is something to cut it with. A small batch of hay like this, it wouldn't be worth it to inconvenience my friend with borrowing his swather. So I need to get something small that I could do small batches of hay like this. And you guys know this is something that I've been wanting to get for a while, and I think I'm getting pretty close to making it happen. So just, I guess, stay tuned and you'll see. We're back up here at the far block now. Let me see if oh, good job, Tyler. I do have rubber boots. Do they have critters living inside? Maybe. Hope not. There's something over here that I wanted to show you guys. I noticed this earlier in the spring, and I did not think that they would hang around this long, but it looks like these honeybees have taken up a permanent residence in this tree. What's interesting about that to me is I think that might be the first wild beehive that I've ever seen. I mean, around here, they use bees for pollination, for the almonds, and sometimes for the prunes. So it's not uncommon to see beehives, but they're all man-made. And I don't know where those bees came from, but they're wild, and, you know, I'm obviously not gonna bother them. Whoa. Was not expecting that. And while I don't plan to bother those bees, I do wish that there was a safe way for me to get at their honey. We've talked about keeping bees in the past, but it would purely just be for the honey. There's no part of me that is really interested or passionate about doing that, and that's probably why it hasn't happened yet. But man, if you could tap into a wild hive like that, not have to take care of them, that would be perfect. Fun out there. Back over here in the shop now, and I have got a lot of projects that are piling up in here. It seems like the last couple of months I just have not been able to make time to get out here and do anything. I'd like to do a little bit more of a permanent fix here on the plasma cutter. If you guys remember, several months ago I dropped a piece of metal on this and ended up puncturing the air line, and I think I cut an electrical wire as well. Back when that happened, I just taped everything up and limped it through to finish the project that I was doing. But now I think I've got more of what would be considered the correct items to fix that. So I need to get that done because I'm gonna need that plasma cutter to do a bunch of the other things that I have planned. So I got this little double-sided barb fitting. This is to repair hoses, and I think it'll work perfectly for this airline. This is the smallest one that I could find, but I think it is in fact the right size. We'll see how it works. So far, it seems good. Be a lot better than just electrical tape. Get this heat shrink on here. That's pretty good. Gonna put a zip tie right over the tail so that it can't start peeling back on me. It's by no means a pretty repair, and I do wish that I had something better to wrap around that housing of the lead itself. Something better than electrical tape, you know, would be nice. It'll work like that until it doesn't anymore. Let's flip this thing on and see if any error lights come on, and then if they don't, then we can move on to the next thing. All right, we're all green. Green is good. Let's see what. No error lights, no leaks that I can hear, and if you knew how this thing operated before, you would know that this is a huge improvement. Before, the air compressor would basically run the whole time because even when you weren't cutting, you could just hear the air coming out of that line. So I was a little worried because I didn't have any way to clamp that double barb fitting in there, but that hose is small enough and that fitting fit tight enough that it looks like it's gonna be all right. And before you ask, I couldn't find a new lead any cheaper than like $350. And I got this hose repair kit that has a ton of different fittings in it. I think this costs about $30. All right, I think we're good. The other day, I posted a poll, and overwhelmingly, you guys said that you wanted to see the budget squeeze chute build, and I will do that, but that's gonna probably take me several days to complete. I'm pretty sure I can get the double spear done today, and assuming that's the case, that is just that much sooner that I could start hauling hay. To save myself a little bit of time and thought, I'm just gonna copy this frame and then I'll weld the spear bungs in different places. But this is, looks like 45.5 wide and 17 tall. And now, totally defeating the purpose of measuring the old spear, I'm just gonna measure the tractor to see where it's at. And yeah, we don't need to be 45.5. We could be 45 and it would still be a little bit too wide. So I think we'll do that. So basically I just need a 45 by 17 inch rectangle. Well, I was all set to go and start welding, and my welding mask is not working. It's not darkening, which is pretty important. So I think it just needs a new battery. I'm not sure if I have one. I'll go check, and if I do, we can keep moving. If I don't, we'll have to find something else to do. CR2450. I had a battery. It would be in this drawer with my other lens stuff, and I don't see one. While I may not have the right battery for that hood, I do have a fixed shade lens that I'm gonna see if I can get to fit in there. And if this works, I'll be able to weld. It just won't be as convenient, but it'll certainly work. People use fixed shade lenses for many years before auto darkening came along. Snap that in there. I mean, it does fit. I feel like it's gonna get jostled around, but I don't know. I say we try it. Now, if I measured correctly, that other piece ought to sit right on here perfect. Pretty good. Boy, that's pretty close right there. I've got this flat bar welded in what I think is the correct angle. We'll go test fit it on the tractor before I go any further with it. You can see the top angle came out right, which the top one's easy, it's just a 45. The bottom one is a different number that I don't remember what it is, but it looks good. There is a little bit of a gap there, but it's not enough to let this spear slide up so much that it could pop off of the top. So while I'm not crazy about the gap, it's probably fine, and I think I can go ahead and weld it up like this. Basically, I've got two choices. I could break this off and re-weld it, try to get it in a better spot, or I could weld a little strip of 3/8 plate here. I'm kind of leaning towards that because it's a lot easier. But yeah, I'll figure it out before I weld it up completely. The next step is to cap the ends of the rectangular tube while at the same time gusseting these plates. And then I'll need to go ahead and finish cutting out the pinholes here in the bottom plates. And I'm sure somebody's gonna wanna tell me that they make skid steer quick attach plates and I could have just bought one of those and welded it on the frame and it would be a lot easier, and that's true. But you know who else makes skid steer quick attach plates? Me. So once we get all that done, you know, this is pretty much still useless until we mount bale spears to it. And that is actually not as simple as I thought it was going to be. Initially, I thought just space the spears 4 feet apart, and that way when you want to grab 2 4-foot bales, you can just put a spear in the middle of each bale, pick them up, you're off to the races. But then I got to thinking about it, and I thought, well, what if I want to only pick up 1 bale and I don't want another spear hanging off the side? What I mean is, yeah, you could easily pick up 1 bale with 1 spear, but then, like if you were trying to pick that bale up out of a row, there's no way to pick one up out of the middle without also spearing another one. Now, I feel like most of the time I could probably figure out how to work around that, but there is probably a scenario where I couldn't. So that really started getting me thinking about this, and I think I've come up with a solution. Instead of spacing the spears out 4 feet apart, what if I space them 3 feet apart? That way they're still far enough apart to grab 2 bales at once, but they're close enough together that I could just center up the tractor on a bale and pick it up with the 2 spears, if that makes sense. Now in this configuration, I probably could not pick up 2 6-foot bales, but it would actually be pretty nice for picking up 1. And the more I think about it, the more I don't think that I would probably want to pick up 2 6-footers. Not that the tractor can't do it, but at that point, visibility really becomes an issue. And if you've got 2 6-foot round bales in front of you, there's not really much else you can see. So with the spears 3 feet apart, it would go there, and there. But that creates another problem, because now if I drill the hole in the spear frame right here to weld in the spear bushing, it's gonna interfere with the quick attach on the tractor. It's like if we drill our hole right here, you can see down on the other side, that's where the tractor mounts. So the solution to that problem, I believe, is to just cut a piece off of the 2x3 rectangular tubing and then weld it to this top brace, therefore lifting the spear up above the quick attach point, and it should not have any problems there. And then it's easy enough to just weld stabilizer spears to the bottom here. I'm kind of debating whether or not to make those removable. I always have in the past, but I've never once felt like I needed to take one off, so I don't know, it'd be a lot easier to weld it. We'll see. Really just wanted to unpack them so I can measure the bushing to see what size hole I'm gonna have to drill. Guess I'll need a wrench for that. These bushings look like they're 55 millimeters. A 2 1/8 inch hole saw is 54 millimeters, so I feel like that'll work. Usually these hole saws have just a tiny bit of run out, so whatever the stamp size is, the hole ends up being slightly bigger than that, so it might actually be perfect for this. Pretty good right there. Okay, wasn't that tight. Just tight enough. No. It's like not even that close. Guess we're getting the die grinder out. Well, I foolishly thought that I could get this finished today, and in all actuality, I got pretty close. There's not that much left to do here, but I think I'm gonna put a pin in it now. It's starting to get late, and I try to make a habit to not do any welding like an hour or two before I'm gonna go in the house, just because, you know, everything is so dry. And hey, this is California. It's not unheard of for entire towns to burn down. And besides that, I've got evening checks still to do, so let's go do them. You know, sometimes it's a little frustrating. I go to all these lengths to make things so that the cattle can get up and get in the shade on these hot days, and yet it seems like almost every day at the hottest part of the day, they're out here grazing, and a lot of them are standing down here in the ditch. So I guess it's just one of those things, you know, you just do the best that you can do for them and let them make the decision. Oh well, I guess if they're happy, I'm happy. See how this cat food's holding out. Yeah, they still got plenty. There's the rest of the crew. I just heard one. They're always crying, but you don't want me to touch you. Oh, look at this. This is big progress. Well, everything's looking good over here, so I guess we can call it. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.